All right, so walking into the entryway of the property, you can see that it is a beautiful blue. There is a couple different shades. You got the darker and lighter blues going throughout. The only problem with this is if you do want to change this color, it's going to be a little tedious just because you will need to put down primer and then probably one or two coats of paint. So just account for that. I don't think it's a bad shade, especially if it's going to be used for an Airbnb, but just know that if you did want to change the paint color, just expect a pretty substantial pay for this one just because of the vaulted ceilings throughout and going through the entire property of doing the primer and then 1 to 2 coats. And if you're going to do that too, you might as well hit the ceiling as well, do a fresh coat on there because you can see a little bit of the grime as well, but overall not too bad. And you got a little bit of condensation happening there, so a lot of that could be touched up with just paint, and then you could also replace those as well to clean them up, or better yet, just a good cleaning would probably do it. I just can't tell if they're rusted from here. Those vent covers, they tend to rust pretty easily. But like I said, the darker you go, the harder it is to cover that with a new coat of paint. Just expect to do that. There are quite a bit of minor scuffs. And with this paint color, it does unfortunately show everything, as you'll see in some of the other rooms. But they do have the nice Falks blinds here. These are really nice for rentals. And you can see the fixtures. Don't know if you want to change them out, but they're pretty unique in this property. They actually have a little bit of characteristics to them, kind of give that beachy vibe feel. Going into the kitchen in here, they have a pretty modern refrigerator. This one's pretty cool. I would definitely see if this comes with the property, which I believe it does, but just double check all that. There is no backsplash in here, so just doing a simple backsplash would actually help elevate this kitchen just because of all the hard angles that you have in here. Doing something nice across here will help break that up and get rid of some of that blue. The oven itself, this is actually a very high-end oven. We install these in a lot of our properties. Just needs a good cleaning. This stuff, over time, the conduction ovens, I think this is conduction. It may not be, but it is kind of a pain to get that off, but there are secrets to doing that. I would actually change out the sink itself. Since everything else in here is so modern, this and the washing machine just seemed a little out of place. So the dishwasher may be fine, but it's just one of those things where I think it's the sink. It just, I don't know, something about it just looks out of place compared to everything else with how elevated it is. So that is definitely a suggestion that I would do. And again, back to the paint, you can see that they used a different color paint here. I would definitely go back through and just kind of clean some of this up. Might be a little hard, but there's actually 2 different types of white paint right here. And you can see some drip spots as well. I'll try to get a better angle, but there's definitely some spots where I don't know if this is a DIY type paint job, but touch-ups you can definitely see. Might be able to see those. But just kind of cleaning that up, that's nothing compared to painting the entire property. But again, if that is something you want to do, it's not overly complicated, it's just a lot. So let's walk down into the other rooms. You have some side closets. You have your laundry right here. It looks like they did have a curtain or something covering this as well. But upstairs laundry, you have 150. So again, with the amperage itself, it may be kind of hard with all the electrical going on. This room doesn't look bad. It looks gently used. I don't really see anything crazy. They do have this one random fixture in this one, probably because this room is vaulted, but definitely needs a good cleaning. And I think that's why they decided to use these other lights, because they're a little lower. There's actually a fan in the middle of them. It's kind of unique, but it just makes it feel a little larger in here, I guess. And that was their whole mentality behind using those fixtures. This room looks a little more worn compared to the other one. So you can see scuffs and all that. But a good cleaning, should be able to get most of this off. Going into the guest bath right here. They do have modern fixtures. They actually do not have another light in here. The only light is coming off of this mirror. You can actually touch those sections right there to kind of change things around. But maybe adding another light in here might be beneficial. Just kind of brighten it up. It seems kind of dark. You have a lot of water stains in here. So good cleaning. Once you get your team coming in here and cleaning this consistently, should help you alleviate a lot of these water stains. But with the Georgia water, you definitely want to get a good cleaner that focuses a lot on the bathrooms. And you can see as well, we do have some condensation coming off of some of these lines. Probably because in here there's a lot of moisture just from this setup in here. So you gotta think that shower head is pumping out a ton of rainwater essentially down into the drain, so it doesn't have anywhere to go. Excuse me, I was just outside. So that little vent right there, maybe you may want to increase the size of that to help that out, and that should alleviate a lot of that condensation right there. But overall, that's a really nice guest bathroom. In the master, you can actually see this a little better. You have a lot of scuff marks. I don't know if it's from painting or what, but this room seems to be the worst. You can really see it right there. But it's almost like a waxy film. I don't know what that is. So just keep in mind, it looks like someone tried to clean these walls, and I really don't know what's going on with them. But this room would definitely be one I would recommend painting. You can really see it now. So going into the master in here, they must have had carpet in here at one time. Those thresholds are cut really high. So just be aware. You can see the underlayment on the floor. There is something going on with this bathroom. I'll show you downstairs what I found, but this looks beautiful. I don't know if the drain backed up or it was clogged or what, but I don't hear any water up underneath the laminate right here, or the LVP, which is good, but the amount of water that was caused to do this, I don't know if it was from a clog or what. So we definitely want to get that inspected. Same thing with the tub. Just make sure this was secure. We have something going on with this. It's just laying in there. The tub kind of moves a little bit. So it'll make more sense when we go downstairs, but I think there's something going on with either that, or the plumbing itself. You'll see when we go downstairs what I'm talking about. And then you do have the cool, unique setup with these. The only problem that I've run into with the past is that it depends on how structured this is into the wall. If this is not installed right and you have a guest or a renter push up on this and there's nothing supporting this, that whole thing could come off the wall. So just be aware, if that is not installed correctly and someone puts too much weight right here, that whole thing's coming off. So depending on if you open up this wall or what we decide to do, you may want to consider adding some supports somewhere in there. But you have the vaulted ceilings in here. And again, I don't really see or feel a way for moisture to get out of here. So you may want to install some sort of vent up there to help alleviate some of that. It's a little higher pitched vaulted ceiling, but you want to get the moisture out of these bathrooms. And there is the master closet, tons of space. You got a little bidet or something going on in here. So definitely just want to double check and see if that thing's working. Maybe consider, or I would recommend adding a vent in here somewhere to help pull out that moisture from the bathroom. And let's go downstairs so I can show you everything else. And then we'll go outside as well. We're going downstairs. I want to take you into this room first, just because that is what I saw. So I don't know if there was a backup or what. Thankfully, it doesn't look like any water got behind the window itself, but we definitely have some sort of leak. So I'm thinking the showers right here, and then the tubs right here. So you just want to make sure that these spots aren't from the tub and whatever is going on up here. If this was a backup, I would definitely recommend just opening this up. You can see someone tried to paint a nice little box around there. So something happened. What? I'm not too sure, but it's always best in this situation to open it up just to double check, because if the plumbing is wrong or something else is having an issue with that shower, let's say it wasn't sealed properly, it's a pretty easy fix if you're able to get to it from here. But if not, I would just consider adding into the budget, replacing that shower, just in case. But you really don't know until you open that thing up. So when your home inspection takes place, I would run water in that for a little bit longer than expected, just to double check, or at least budget something for doing some sort of substantial repair for up there. I don't feel any pops or anything with the floors down here, which is good. So it doesn't feel like there's any moisture or anything up under the floor here. But you do have some pretty harsh taping going on with the drywall. So I don't feel any pockets. Well, there's a little pocket right there. So normally what happens, that's done during the installation itself. You can see it up there. But sometimes it happens because moisture gets behind the tape. It's a little further away from here, but it's close enough where that could be caught or pulling some of the moisture from what happened over here. So it's just hard to tell without anything else going on. And I don't think that seam was repaired, but you can see it somewhat pucking a little bit. And when that happens, again, that's a sign of moisture, which clearly there is something going on here. So just be aware that there could be something going on, but I do recommend checking that out. And once that's fixed, everything else in here is pretty straightforward. There's nothing else to it. And you don't necessarily have to come back in and like re-drywall that. You can just mud that and feather it and tie it all back in. Same thing over here. If this was really a bother, which you can see it cracking right here, you could easily just pop this up or peel it up and then re-tape that, and then essentially give this room a nice coat of paint. But that is definitely the major thing that I saw in this property. And then you kind of have a dated bathroom. Like, this thing feels like you're walking into a little bit of a dungeon. But you could technically open this up. The right behind here is another closet, so if you wanted to make that bigger, you essentially could. That's what's going on right here. So if you wanted to, you do have the space to increase the size of that. I don't think there's any ductwork behind there, but overall, updating this I do recommend doing. And then this is a pretty unique space down here too. It's kind of like a little step down into a little, almost like a little viewing patio for the backyard. But I just thought this was a really unique spot or space in the home. This is something that could be set up as like a little gaming setup, especially for an Airbnb. Someone would definitely love sitting up or getting a coffee made and sitting down here and enjoying the views and relaxation that's going on. But you do see the seams again. You can really see it popping. So again, that's generally a sign of moisture. But that nail pop right there, this could be a settling issue. But this happens quite a bit across the board when you have any sort of moisture in the house, which, I mean, this whole section down here is right off of that bathroom. So I think once that's fixed, a lot of these issues that you're seeing right here should be taken care of. This one though, this one is right above the sink above. I believe it's right here, the sink. So again, kind of comes back to the plumbing. Like we just need to double check everything. And once those little issues are resolved, it's pretty straightforward. But in here, in this room, it's really good. You definitely need to either clean it or repaint it. Quite a bit of scuff marks. So this one compared to the other rooms is the most used. And I see why. This would be so awesome to be hanging out down here as a kid and playing. So if we get those issues resolved with the plumbing or figuring out what's going on, I mean, that right there could have just been, you know, backed up sink or something, or could have even been the dishwasher. You just never know. The furnace is right here. So I'll get you a good picture of the air handler and all the details, but it does look newer. You got storage up under here. I do not know where that goes, but looks pretty cool. I think it goes up underneath the steps. And then in here you have a massive garage. Well, the lights are not working in here yet. Not too sure why. But let me just open up the garage door. That goes out into the backyard. I did not try these, but they look brand new, so the tracks are pretty nice. Whoever was in here working all the time, or whoever owned the property before, definitely had this garage set up. They put a lot of work into it. And they got this cool little section back here in the garage. You could technically block this all off, and here's your storage for your Airbnbs. Ton of space back here. Like, this is really cool. Or even create like a new and unique opportunities to rent out kayaks or things of that. I see some people will rent out kayaks. This could be storage for your kayaks to rent right along with your Airbnbs. But cool little way to lock that up and keep all your stuff for your properties right here. We won't go out the side door. I'll take you up the top again, show you the exit that way to get out onto the patio. But that's the walkthrough. I'll get you photos of all the mechanical systems. This is a really unique one. I really like this property, especially for an Airbnb, just because it's unique. It's different. You want to sell a story. I mean, this is really cool. So let's go back outside. Now out here, we definitely want to get the balcony itself inspected. There's a couple pieces that, you know, are popped off, like the wood's worn. Like maybe replacing a couple of these. You got one right here that's broken. And then when we go up underneath here, you'll see a little bit more wear and tear. Now, I'm not an expert when it comes to balconies, but it does look like it needs to be cleaned. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but when you have cracks like that coming off of your balcony, it might be a good reason to add some additional bracing up under it. Just like how this board right here has two, you could sister up another one right next to that, or do what they did right here and just add in some extra supports for these joists. But overall, it doesn't look too bad besides that crack. I don't know why they just started right here and stopped. Doesn't really make too much sense for me on that one. Maybe it was a side project that they just never finished. But this is that cool room downstairs. Forgot to unlock it. With the little sitting nook, you can come right out here, and you'll definitely have enough space for a pool. If you do install a pool up back here, you may have to do a little bit of yard work and grinding this stump up, but you definitely have the space for it. And then the fence itself, that portion is new, so it was probably the neighbor that did that one. This one's looking a little rickety, and then there are certain sections that are done. So I'm thinking the neighbors did that portion, you can see the difference between, let me walk a little closer, between the two. But again, I mean, that could just be power washed just to clean up a little bit. I mean, the wood itself doesn't look bad. Tons of space back here. Got the deck or balcony coming off to this little deck right here. But again, I mean, it's overgrown. I would definitely have someone inspect some of this wood. It looks pretty solid on the steps, but again, where it connects up there, that's my only worry with that. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but it should all be easily fixed too, which is the bonus with that. And then you do have some waviness going on. It's pretty common with these, but overall pretty sturdy. Still have someone inspect it. Definitely would recommend getting this thing replaced. Nothing to that, but especially if you're going to use this as a rental, clean that up, get that all straight and solid so you don't have to ever worry about it. And then also with these lines, this is so brittle, I would definitely fix that. That'll help your AC unit out quite a bit. These condensers, they live and breathe off of those. So if those lines are not covered and secure, you're just wasting money, and I don't want you wasting money if it's going to be an Airbnb. And if we go over here, got the nice gate going on, and that's the entry to the garage with all that storage that you have right here. This fence looks great, but overall I think this is a great one. You do have a couple projects I would definitely recommend doing, and a couple situations where I would get someone out here to inspect. Definitely having a home inspector take a look at all this. But again, I mean, there's nothing to it. If it does need an extra support, put one right here. It's not going to mess around with any views or anything. You can put it right in the middle right here. But I think just sistering this all up, making sure it's nice and secure, that's a great way to get some additional value back here, especially because you're going to install that pool. But overall, this is a really good one. I think this is great. I'll go back in, lock on up, and I'll walk you around the front. But I did notice too on the roof itself, you have some issues going on with like the soffit. This one's not bad. Does look like they did some repairs going along here, but up in the corners I noticed some other issues. So I'll take you on a tour of the front. Here's a better look. So you might want to get some of those checked out and replaced. That's definitely wood rot going on, but very common down here. So